So welcome back, Joseph Trousdale. It's been a couple of years since that last profile we did on Pholicious. How's it going?
Man, time has gone by fast. It seems like it wasn't far at all.
I know, and you guys have done a ton since then. You've grown so much, and I definitely want to dig into that. But I'd like to lead off with something that just happened this past week, and over the past week, and that's the Hy-Vee. You guys won, got a smile, so you'll be going on the shelves. Congratulations on that. But tell us about it. What was the week like?
When we went to the Hy-Vee, their opportunity summit, it was 70, almost 70 different companies that were there out of
Hmm.
thousands that applied. And the atmosphere was sort of like every other event we've been to. It's high energy. Everybody's excited to be there. Everybody from Hy-Vee was amazing. They did a whole day of presentations from different Hy-Vee people about what to expect, how to do business, how to be successful with Hy-Vee.
Hmm.
So it's not just, oh, come in and do a pitch and that's it. The people that are there, they want to make sure that they're successful. So they're giving you the tools and the people and past experiences from other vendors. And then they did their pitch competition where several different entrepreneurs were selected to actually pitch and win cash prizes. And we all got to vote on that. It was very interactive. And then the next day was the pitches, and which was also very high energy in their trade show. So about half of the vendors then had a little 10 by 10 booth and sampling products. So it was very a breath of fresh air to get out of the office, not just another pitch, but connect with other entrepreneurs, connect with senior leadership within that chain, as well as pitch, and just it was just a great experience.
So that's very cool, and I like the way they did that. They wrapped the education around and the connection so that everybody who was there did not get a smile, but everybody who was there still learned how to do business with Hy-Vee, what Hy-Vee's looking for. So even if they didn't get a smile this time around, they'll be
Mhm.
better prepared when they come into it again.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, like with Walmart Open Call, it's very similar. They do a day of education, the next day is pitches. And I bring that up because you said if you don't like Open Call does a golden ticket. Our first Open Call experience through RangeMe, we did not get a golden
Hmm.
ticket. But the conversation was like, hey, this is what you need to do. Get on Marketplace. Let's get on Walmart.com. Let's see how it does. And we stayed in communication with our merchants. And although we got, hey, we want it in clubs with Sam's Club, we want it in stores. This is what we got to do that. So
Hmm.
we followed that. We listened to that, to what they said. We had that path. Then we ended up getting in Sam's Club. We ended up getting in Walmart.
Hmm.
We started off with 125 Walmarts, then grew
Hmm.
to 300, then grew to 500, and now we're in 1,900 Walmarts
Hmm.
across the nation. And Sam's Club, we're growing as well. So just because you go to one of these events and don't get an immediate yes, it's great to soak up all the information because
Hmm.
you can use that and turn that into a yes later. It's usually
Yeah.
if you don't get a yes, that doesn't mean no. It just means not right now. But there's
Hmm.
still always a path as long as you don't flip out and be like, oh, I can't believe, bro, this you're missing out on the best product you've ever. As long as you don't burn your bridge and don't go crazy, and you actually take the advice to heart and listen and stay in communication. There's always an avenue to get back in.
That's great. And it's a learning experience either way. So you should come. I always recommend the brands like when they're at ECRM sessions, they're going into a buyer meeting. It's like make sure you come away with at least one of these two things, right? One would be a follow up, right? That could potentially lead to business. The other thing is learning and insights that you take back and use it to improve your products, your packaging, your the way you do business so that down the road you're going to be a better company, your products are going to get better and all that. So you always should come away with that at a minimum, and that's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. And even when you get, for example, we got a Hy-Vee smile, but there's still other things that we're going to talk about and for the best opportunity for launch. So there's still all, and like we got to deal with Walmart, but the entire time we've been in communication with our merchant, we've changed our packaging.
Mhm.
with HEB, same thing. We've talked to them, and it's a conglomerate of
Mhm.
between everybody of how you evolve as a brand, how you evolve as a company, your customer feedback. It's always that ongoing communication that you want to keep open so you can evolve and improve as a brand and a product.
I love the way more and more of these larger retailers are starting to invest time and resources into supplier education because that's a win-win for everybody. I believe the Cormark Curated had a little bit of that too, some education. It's just it's better you educate the suppliers and then you end up getting better products on your shelves anyway. So it's nice to see that happening. And I love the point that you brought up that in all of these situations, things change or you have to adapt or what goes on the shelf may not necessarily be what you originally pitched in the form of what you pitched them. And I think it's important for a lot of brands to know that that is part of the process. It's not like, oh, your product sucked or your packaging sucked. No, but different retailers may have different tastes or requirements. Maybe they want some call out in one color versus another, and so it's a little bit of a process. Once you get that, yes, there's still a lot of adjustments that you may have to make in order to, before you get on the shelf.
Exactly. Yeah. And for example, Stop and Shop, we pitched through the RangeMe. We pitched our pho, which is our flagship product, our beef and chicken pho, and then we launched a super spicy beef and chicken ramen.
Mhm,
And Stop and Shop was like, "Man, we want that. We want to start off with the ramen," which sort of completely surprised us because our
mhm,
pho is just so popular and growing like crazy everywhere. And we're like, okay, let's do it. And when that does well, we have plans for next year. Same thing with Kroger through RangeMe. They're taking just the pho and
mhm,
then developing into more SKUs later. Walmart, we keep going back to Walmart, but we've had such a long relationship with this, which started off with RangeMe and through the open call process. But now, even after 1,900 locations, I can't say what it is, but we're in development with Walmart
mhm,
for an exclusive product that's only going to be available at
mm,
Walmart. And it's a brand new SKU for us, goes right up our alley, right up of what we do. But it's a great collaboration that Walmart's excited about, we're excited about, and it's just, man, you never know, and it sort of caught us off guard when they reached out and talked to us about it. We're like, that's perfect, and
mhm,
we already have a really great recipe for it. We just didn't know what the timing was, so it was just
mhm.
very ironic that they were thinking about the same thing too. So
Yeah, well, that's why that communication is essential. That back and forth. That's the part. That's the way the game's played. That's what happens. And for new brands that are just getting into the business, it's not like you pitch and then boom, you put it on the shelf. It's like no, you pitch and then there's that back and forth. One you may have met him, Kevin Consolo from Sneaker Racers. He was another. He got a smile as well at that. And he used to work with ECRM actually. He was on staff,
okay.
but he's blown up. But over the years, he's had to make changes just like that. He pitched one discount retail chain, and his product was way too expensive. They're like, "Can you get it down to this price?" He ended up knocking off his own product with another brand that was a lower priced brand to do it. I mean, so that's just a part of the whole thing. So now that you got your smile from Hy-Vee, what happens now from this point forward?
Well, with Hy-Vee, we're now discussing logistics, the quickest way to get it on the
Hmm.
shelves, the most cost-effective way to get it on shelves for the end
Hmm.
customer, so we can provide the same quality that we give everywhere else at an affordable price.
Hmm.
That's what we've done. We're not about making the cheapest product out there, but we want the best product for the best price, give the customer
Hmm.
the best value. And for example, when we first started with Walmart, we were 548
Hmm.
was our retail shelf. Now, with the partnership of not only Walmart but HEB in connecting us with large suppliers, our supply
Hmm.
chain, we've been able to get the same quality ingredients direct from some of the big manufacturers instead of going through middleman, which knocked off some of our price. So now we've
hmm
got our retail price down to like a 493. So
hmm
as we grow, our merchants have helped us get better pricing so we can then bring that better pricing to the customer. So same thing with Hy-Vee. We're going to keep working on getting in all of our retails as we grow to keep getting the customer the best products for the best value.
Awesome. And I know Hy-Vee's operates a little bit differently than a lot of retailers. When I was in the trade media, went out there to the headquarters and did a cover story on them. And I know their store directors are very involved for their
Mm-hmm.
particular stores. They like have the ultimate say. Will you have to deal with some of the store directors directly, or how is that going to work?
Yes and no. So it depends on what level you come in, to my understanding. I'm still new into that
Yeah.
process. They have a trade show coming up in January where a lot of
hmm
the suppliers will come gather, and then all the store managers come and will sample. Hy-Vee seems like one of the interesting companies to be able to get in as a very small business, like store per store. You can
hmm
just go in, set a meeting with the manager of that store, and potentially get into that location.
Yeah.
Where like other mega brands, you have to go through corporate, and then they decide which
hmm
one. So when I heard that, it was like, man, that's pretty cool for small business.
hmm
We're talking with some of the corporate things where they're looking at potentially just putting it in, all locations and doing like a direct pricing. So they do both models,
Yeah.
but at the same time, the store managers have a lot of decision power that goes on with their stores. So building those store level relationships with Hy-Vee, if you're going to try to get into Hy-Vee off of a RangeMe or ECRM event, is to just call them, set an
hmm
appointment with the store manager, and go in, and that's how you can get your foot in.
Yeah, I believe they have the each store has its own little website and it has the contact information. So if you're willing to put in the legwork and go one by one, you can do that, and they're going to make the decisions that's best for their individual store. So I love the way they operate. So I'd like to take a step back for people who may not have seen our first interview and have you give just a quick overview of Pholicious. But before we do that, how are the kittens?
The kittens are great. So this is the second time that happened. So 2 years ago, we had a mama cat give birth to a litter of kittens under one of our loading docks, where it raises up and went under there. And we came in and we heard meow, meow. We're like, what is going on? And we ended up finding a litter of kittens. And of course, during the day with all the commotion, the mom takes off and they're not going to come back during the day because there's just so much going on. So we were worried, and they're like a couple days old. And with kittens that new, if they don't eat every couple
hmm
hours, they'll die.
Yeah.
Especially in Texas, when it's 98 degrees
Yeah.
outside this time of year. So 2 years ago, we took them in. We went and got the cat replacement milk from Walmart and fed them every 3 hours in our office. And then that evening, we took them back out and waited. And the mom actually came back for them
Mm.
and got all but two. One of them died, unfortunately. But then the second one, we were able to say, okay, that's enough. We ended up rescuing that. And my son, who was 11 at the time, was like, I don't want to take it to a shelter. I'm going to feed it. I'm going to take care of it. And now she's one of the best household pets we have. Fast
That's cool.
forward 2 years later, and we tried to trap the mom so we could
Yeah.
get her spayed,
Mm.
and that so she doesn't happen again, but she would never come in one of those little cat traps. And when we forgot about it, well, couple weeks, 2 weeks or so ago, it happened again, and we're like, "Oh my
Same
gosh!"
cat. Same cat.
Same spot in the same loading bay door, and she came and got all but two. The same thing this time. One of our, and I was like, "Man, we're about to." It was right before the Hy-Vee, and we're like, we can't take care of a cat. We're flying out. We're going to leave for
Yeah.
3 days. We can't fly with a kitten with us. We can't go to the Hy-Vee meeting and be like, oh, excuse me, and feed a kitten while we're in the middle of the meeting. So one of our employees actually took them in, and they're doing great at her house. So she adopted them. She's been feeding them and all that. We went out. We bought the formula, the bottles, and all the
hmm
supplies for the employee, and she took the kittens home, and they're doing well.
That's great. That's great. I think that cat is starting to take advantage now that she
I
knows
think so.
that you're going to take care of him anyway.
I think so. We need to get her trapped so we can get her spayed so it doesn't happen again.
Well, good luck with that. It sounds like she's very elusive.
She is.
Cool. All right, so give everybody an overview of Pholicious.
Yeah, I'm Joseph Trousdale, co-owner of Pholicious. We started with me and my wife back in 2021. My wife is Vietnamese. They came over here from Vietnam when she was 6 years old. They came over on a boat as refugees from Vietnam, came with nothing. We met back in 2008, and quickly I fell in love with pho. Her and her family introduced me to it, and it became like a weekend, weekly event. Her mom would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and start making pho from scratch every weekend. And by dinner time, it would be ready. It's an all day process. Uh, Fast forward all the way from 2004 to the pandemic when we're married. We have two kids. We live in Texas, and the pandemic hits. My wife's an ER nurse. I'm a hotel GM. My in-laws, they love to come visit for us and cook for us every weekend, and then we would freeze what was left. But that couldn't happen, so we would normally go out to the restaurants. Well, then the restaurants shut down, and we're
Mhm.
like, man, we can't have pho. Her parents can't make it. We can't go to the restaurant. We don't have time to make it from scratch because we're working like crazy through the pandemic. And we're like, what do we do? So we went out to the market. We bought the instant options that were available, and unfortunately, none of them that were out there really had that authentic,
Mhm.
even restaurant quality, homemade, even like remotely to it. They weren't bad for the price, but they weren't pho, even though they said
Mhm.
pho on there. So my wife got a little bit frustrated, and so she got with her mom. We call her Mama Two, and they took their family recipe and created a version for us that we could have quickly and easily. And it turned out to be so good that my wife was like, "We need to share this. Other people are having the same issue." She's like, "I don't care if we make money. We just need to put it on Amazon and share it."
Mhm.
And we did, and it just took off and just started growing from there. And here we are.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah, look at that. That's amazing. And now a lot has happened since we last spoke. And can you catch us up on some of the wins? Let's start with the ones that came from RangeMe submissions, and then we'll get into some of the other ones too, including Shark Tank. I don't want to skip over that. So, but I know from RangeMe, you had Ahold, Delhaize, Kroger, United, Core Curated, Loves. Can you take us through each of those?
Yeah, so shortly after we started, we joined RangeMe in the fall of 2021 as one of the free subscriptions. It wasn't the verified one. And we had recently sold our house. We moved into a camper. We took all that money to invest into our company and grow. And very first win was the QVC Big Find Contest. So we won that and got on QVC. Then Walmart Open Call. We got on Walmart Open Call. Then that led to Walmart and Sam's Club. Then the United Family was sort of the next one, which got us into United Supermarkets, Market Street, and Albertsons Market.
And that was
So
new. That was since the last one we did.
that was
Yeah.
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 Since the last one we talked was pretty much Walmart Open Call,
Yep.
and a little bit of stuff with Cisco Foods, and then since our last conversation was the United Family, which has been really great for us. We're on close to 100 locations between their different flags. Um, then the Stop and Shop which is through the Owlhold one, and then Target Plus. Then we've got Albertsons. The actual Albertsons was through RangeMe. ECRM was through one of their it was the I can't remember the actual name for it, but it was
It
through
was, yeah,
the
we call them summits. We call them immediate opportunity. There's some that are immediate
yeah,
opportunities. The one you just did was the Hy-Vee Innovation Summit. So yeah, they all have their different names.
exactly. And then Kroger was actually not through one of the immediate ones. It was just sort of applying to
Hmm.
the everyday what was available, and that's starting this month. Um, Stop and Shop just started, and that was through the Hold immediate opportunity.
Hmm.
United was through that. Core Curated. We are actually one of their Core Curated winners for this year. That was through Immediate Opportunity, which is now giving us access to a whole new avenue of business for us, which is the convenience store space. And they're going to, with being one of the curated winners, they're going to be featuring us in all their trade shows, giving us access to waiving a whole ton of fees of getting onboarded, which is fantastic. And with that, I've been able to use that and apply to other ones like the Love's Travel Market. We're accepted through the first and second phase. Now they're reviewing our samples to sort of go on to the final yes. We just applied for the 7-Eleven heart. We would never have applied for that before, but because we're incorporated and have a distribution aspect now, we're like, hey, we have this. It's a great opportunity for the C space. The C space is changing for more, quality type center store items. And so now we're applying for that. And McLean, we got approved to McLean. They're in their startup, all through Immediate Opportunities. So there's a lot of stuff going on through RangeMe. That's even before Shark Tank comes into play and comes into the picture.
Yeah, so that's great. So maybe I'll soon see you in the 7-Eleven around the corner from me.
Hopefully we applied. So it's 7-Eleven. If you're watching this, let's go.
There you go. There you go. So, and then before we get into Shark Tank, you also did, and this wasn't RangeMe, but the HEB Texas Best, and you guys won that. Talk a little bit about that, and congratulations on that. That's a great win.
Thank you. HEB has been fantastic. Every year they do their Quest for Texas Best contest, which are for Texas companies with their products that are made in Texas to support Texas brands, because HEB is based in Texas. They're the number one grocery store in Texas for a reason. It's a great experience. They're huge into the community, and we applied for it, and we got selected as top 10. We went in, we competed, and we ended up being grand champions, walking away with $35,000 in cash and an opportunity to be in their stores. And we ended up going in every location across Texas and Mexico. So it's our first international type company, which is fantastic. And HEB has been phenomenal at supporting us, because every SKU they come out with, they put it on their stores. They put it on their shelves. Every SKU we launched, they want it. We've got the super spicy ramen, they put it on there. Our pho, of course. We're coming out with the non-spicy ramen at the end of November. They're like, put it on the shelves. And then we're coming out with a brand new item, which is our pad thai. This is actually the first time I've talked about it anywhere publicly. So breaking news, we're coming out with an instant pad thai that's launching this spring, and it's going to be on every HEB shelf as well. And it's freaking amazing. So
well, these local programs are great because you are the market. You know the market because you are part of the market. So I really am a big fan of these local. Plus, aside from the fact that it's great to support local brands as well.
Yeah. And on top of that, man, they've just been the education. We keep talking about brands and they're educating their consumers. HEB actually had some like major food safety education that was like 2-day education, like actually get HACCP certified, all this stuff of when you're doing your own manufacturing to build that we took advantage of. And we did those classes, and, being HACCP certified, getting into the SQF and all this information that when we're small scale, you're following, but you're not following 100% because you don't know as a new brand. And as you grow, which of course we have been, we did that. And, it helped us write our food safety plans, everything that we need to be an effective food manufacturer and safe food manufacturers. And right before we aired on Shark Tank, it just so happened that we had an FDA inspection, like a week before we aired. They're like, oh, we didn't know you're airing. But of course, if you're going to be on national TV, the government want to make sure you're doing well. And our inspector, after our inspection, was like, how old is your company? We're like, going on 4 years old. And she's like, with your documentation, what you're doing, how you're operating, and the cleanliness and everything, this is one of the cleanest facilities I've seen in Texas. Your documentation's on point. She's like, you guys are operating like a 15 to 20-year-old company. And we're like, HEB put us through those classes so we could do that every step of the way. And we didn't even know that was one of the advantages of working with them, for them to be able to go that extra mile to make sure that their vendors are doing everything to bring the safest, not only the best products, but the safest products to their customers.
Yeah. That's great. It's great. Well, it's great on the part of HEB for doing that and these other retailers for incorporating the education, but also it's great on your part for just diving into all of that and just absorbing everything that you can, and the results speak for themselves with that FDA visit.
Yeah, it was great.
So Shark Tank, tell us about that.
Yeah. So ever since we started in 2021, I applied every year because I love Shark Tank from the
hmm
very beginning since I was a kid, and I was like, one day we're going to be on here. And the first year, first time we applied, we got a call back, which we were super excited about. Went through the next steps, and ultimately they're like, no, you guys aren't ready yet. Second year, same thing. Third year, same thing. And then the fourth year, we're like, okay, I'm not going to give up. I'm still doing it. And then we got through the final stage, and they're like, okay, you're going to go film, and we're like, freaking out, like, what is this going to be like? Practicing every day for our pitch, that little 2-minute pitch to start,
hmm
knowing all of our information, and getting there it was crazy. You actually walk in and you see the shark. You don't see them before, they don't see you before, they don't know what's coming. You walk in, and then the lights are on you, and you just do it. You just go through the pitch, and hopefully you practice enough to where you just don't have to think about it. It just
hmm
happens. And then you're standing up there back and forth for over an hour, back and forth with the Sharks, answering questions, going back and forth. And then they edit it down to 8 minutes on the
Yeah.
show. So it doesn't look like it's there, but it's intense. And we ended up, Daniel and Kevin were going back and forth for quite a while.
And they wanted too much of your company, right? I know.
And,
Yeah.
yeah,
One of them wanted
we
too much. Yeah.
yeah. So we went in asking for 10% for $500,000, and they both came back with 20%. And then our top number going in was like, okay, my wife and I were talking, we're like 15% is the max.
hmm
So we got to start off low. And then when they both came back at 20, I was like, and in my head, I was like, if I go back at 15, they're going to come back at like 17.
hmm
So I went straight in, I said 12%. And they're all like, oh, I can't believe you would do such a low, you would only go up 2%. And then Daniel refused to move. And Daniel was stating that he was going to bring in a team of 30 people to help us out with food safety and all this. And they didn't air the part, but we sort of went through sort of what we did with HEB and
hmm
everything. And in our heads, we're like, we really don't need that team of 30
Yeah.
to come into our manufacturing. We need
hmm
sort of help with social media, with branding, getting out to retailers. And even though Daniel has that, Kevin hit on all those points, and he's
hmm
like, I'll do it for 15. And we're like, okay, that's the number we wanted. And we hit it on that, and
hmm
we walked away, and the deal closed. And Kevin has been a fantastic shark to work with so far.
Awesome. Is he a nice guy? What's it like on a personal level?
He seems so tough
hmm
and brutal on TV and everything, but in person, he's very understanding. He's very well, maybe because we're making money,
Yeah.
because we have business, and that's why he's been a nice guy. He hasn't had to be brutal with us, but he's been, his team has been fantastic. Shortly after Shark Tank, him and his team flew me and An out to Las Vegas to Shop Talk, and him and An were keynote speakers at Shop Talk on stage about our TV advertising that we had
hmm
started,
hmm
through Wonder Ads, which is a
hmm
company he's a part of, and sort of the experience we had with that. And it was a cool experience. So he's already doing things like that for us.
hmm
Um, he's actually coming down to Houston in November, where we're going to be on location at one of our grocery stores that we're in, and he's going to be there with us at the grocery store for 2 hours sampling products
Wow.
to the public. So we're gonna have Chef Wonderful there with us, sampling products. Early November, we're gonna announce the date, time, and location here soon on our social media. But that's gonna be cool. So he's been very hands on, and his teams has been, um, and they haven't been pushy like you have to do this or you
Hmm.
have to do that. It's all conversational. Like, hey, what do you guys need? What's
Hmm.
going on? We tell them and say, hey, what do you think? And then they give us different opinions of what they think. And ultimately, they're like, hey, it's your business, it's your decision. We want to see you guys make the best choices, but just keep us informed, which we thought was cool. They're not like breathing down our neck,
Yeah.
forcing us to do different things.
That's great. And see, the persistence pays off. I mean, 4 times. Like I know one person that actually was rejected 7 times before she got on Shark Tank. It happens. It's part of the process. What was your prep like? How many times do you think you went through your pitch with on?
I can't even count. I can't even guesstimate on it because every day we live about an hour from where our warehouse is that we
Hmm.
drive to every day that we call the shop. And so every day when we would drive, we would practice it and we'd practice on the way home. So
Hmm.
several times a day on the weekends. Yeah, it was just, and then when we're sitting in the waiting room waiting to go air, we're just going over it and over it and over it. It's almost to the point where it was like too much. Like when you start saying a word over and over again and it
Yeah.
loses meaning, you're like, what does
Hmm.
that word even mean anymore?
Hmm.
It was getting to the point of like that. So we had to stop
Yeah.
a few times.
You don't want to analyze it to death. You get the main points, and then you're good to go. So, but yeah, prep because you got to do that prep because when you're nervous as hell in front of everybody and the lights are on your face and all that, you're gonna fall. What do they say? You fall back to the level of your training. So that's what's gonna happen. You got to internalize it, and then boom, it gives you the flexibility to kind of iterate
Yep.
and improvise while you're there. So
Yeah. And
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and everything like Anna and I do in just in business and life is we know each other's parts. And
Hmm.
so if one
Hmm.
person falls or falls back, the other person can automatically jump in. All my
Hmm.
weaknesses are her strengths, all her
Yep.
weaknesses are my strength. And we work really well together. We took that same approach to every pitch that we had.
That's great. Well, that's what what they say about partners. If you always agree on everything, one of them's not necessary. So it's
That
good
is
that
true.
you complement each other in different areas. Um, so now and this kind of fits along with the whole what you've been talking about learning and studying and just incorporating that into your growth. You're doing a lot with Walmart, and I know recently you were over there talking about their scintilla, I think it's called, their data analysis. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you work with Walmart in general?
Yeah, so Walmart has their own reporting system, which is
Hmm.
huge to supplier success. If you don't know what's going on,
Hmm.
you don't know what to do. Our merchant has been fantastic with helping us, guiding us in the right directions on how to
Hmm.
learn that. And one of the trainings that was at their corporate office was one of those things. So we went out there to the training where they helped show us what to do, what's involved, if you want the free version, the paid version, is the paid version worth it? All these questions we have,
Hmm.
and that session sort of answered a lot of that information.
Hmm.
And for one example, okay, when we launched into very first launched into Walmart locations, and we're trying to check what's going on, we our merchant initially showed us how to do a basic report, which she didn't have to, but she did, which was
Hmm.
great. And from that report, we're noticing, okay, we have out of our 125 locations, like 20 locations that are showing zero sales, and but they're showing zero on shelf, but they're still showing 20 in stock. So the system's not reordering. And we're like,
Hmm.
that's weird that every other store we're making sales. This one's not. It's showing that they have inventory, but it's showing that there's zero on shelf. So after 2 or 3 weeks of that, um, instead of going to those locations, we actually put a hit. I call it a hit out on social media. I said, hey, whoever's in this city, I need you to go to this Walmart, take a picture of the shelf of where our bowls are.
Hmm.
And if it's empty or not, send it to us. And if you do that, we'll send you a free 4-pack of our soup. And
Hmm.
then instantly we got those pictures within 24 hours, which
Yeah.
was great. So we didn't have to spend time or money or
Hmm.
hire a local agency to go do it. Um, and then those pictures came back as blank shelves, like empty shelf space. And
Hmm.
we're like, so we were able to take that, get the store manager's information from the reporting. We were able to get the
Hmm.
store manager's information, reach out to them and say, hey, your shelves are empty. It says you have inventory. We're not making sales. So do you not have inventory? Is it a mistake or is it lost somewhere? And the
Hmm.
managers actually went out, found the inventory that was misplaced, put it on the shelf, and then sales started coming through. And then the
Hmm.
rotation so we started. So if we never did that or never did reporting,
Yeah.
those stores would have just consistently showed zero, and Walmart would have just pulled those stores. Like, hey, they're not
Hmm.
selling here. Let's get something else in. And now some of those stores are some of our top selling stores.
Mm.
So reporting is super huge on that. And then there's other aspects like, do you have enough? Do you have a special event coming up? Do you have enough? You can even break down how much inventory is on the way to the DCs, how much is in the DCs, how much is on the way to the store. You can see all, so you can track the entire supply chain, which we
Mhm.
didn't know until we did these kind of learning tools, which helps you be on task. So, but because if by the time it hits the shelf and then it hits your report that there's an issue, it's about 6 weeks to fix it by the time it
Mhm.
goes through and for this and so you don't want to get to that point. Then it's too late, and you have another 6 weeks of terrible sales until it's fixed.
Mhm.
So you need doing those reports weekly are huge for your success, not just in Walmart, but any retailer is keeping
Mhm.
up with those. And the fact that Walmart doesn't just say, "Okay, you're on the shelf, good luck." They give you the tools to succeed
Mhm.
and keep going.
And it's cool that it's proactive too, in that where they're asking, do you have an event coming up? Do you have, some sort of something that's going to pull? Maybe you're doing a social media blitz in that particular region, and you're going to need more inventory.
Or you're going to air on Shark Tank, and do you have
Or
enough
yes,
inventory? So
good,
that
great
was
point.
another thing. we,
Yeah.
we we had to inflate our demand so the system would order enough, so the stores had enough, online had enough, because we're
Hmm.
1P where Walmart buys it and then they sell it online.
Hmm.
Uh, because it wasn't just the online that got hit. In stores, the shelves went empty, even with that inflated. And the stockers, when we went in, were going and just stocking as much as they could. And we actually, after we aired the next day, we caught, and the stockers like, I don't know what's going on. I just filled it and now it's empty again. Like, so they're having to fill it multiple times a
Yeah.
day. And we're like, we just aired on Shark Tank last night. And they're like, oh, and then we filmed them and did like a whole social media thing with it. But um, keeping up with those reports and then being in contact with as many local stores, it's hard when you're in thousands of locations,
Hmm.
we get it, but still being in contact with many of those local markets as you can and those local managers and having some sort of relationship.
And it just speaks to the importance of supply chain, having a good supply chain, because sure, people focus a lot on the negative things that happen, the ports close or this or that, and that impacts the ability to get products on the shelf. But what about the success that causes the challenges too? Shark Tank airs, boom, there's huge demand. So you have to be able to accommodate that. So being able to prep for that is really important. So I like the fact that you were able to go into the system and kind of boost it up, even though it was even more popular than the demand was even more. But it just goes to show the importance of having that flexible supply chain and being able to kind of adapt with the growth and those things. So and that actually is a good lead into the next thing I wanted to talk about was over the past 2 years, since you've had all this tremendous growth, how have you had to adapt the business as you've grown your distribution? I know you touched a little bit on you've been able to get like better economies of scale with some suppliers, but what are some of the things that you've had to do as an entrepreneur, as an operator of this business, as you've had this tremendous growth the past since last we spoke?
Yeah, especially with being your own manufacturer.
Hmm.
There's a ton of different challenges coming in. When we last spoke during our uh,
You
last
just moved
talk,
into a new facility, right?
we had just moved
Yeah.
from Lampasas, Texas to Houston from
Hmm.
1,700 square feet to 10,000 square feet.
Hmm.
And when we went in there, we're like, what are we going to do with all this space? It's
Hmm.
crazy. And within a year, even though we signed a 5-year lease, we moved again to 52,000 square feet. So now we're in
Wow.
52,000 square feet. We originally had plastic lids that closed our bowls, and they were
Hmm.
shrink wrapped. So we had people putting lids on by hand, and we were hiring a bunch of people for that. We had to switch away from that altogether. We got rid of the plastic lids, which not and the shrink wrap, which
Hmm.
not only saves us, I think the mathematics right now, if we were to do it, over 25 tons of plastic a year, it's saving us right now and putting in out of plastic use.
Hmm.
So that's a plus. But B, we switched to just a paper seal on lid,
Hmm.
which like what you typically see on for instant noodles.
Hmm.
So we don't have to shrink wrap it. We don't use that plastic. And now we have a machine that it goes through that seals on those lids automatically and comes through. So
Hmm.
those 5 people that we had lids, we were able to utilize those and put them on the line, which we went from being able to do with the plastic lids and shrink wrap with 20 employees. The maximum we could do in a 12-hour day was like 8,000 bowls.
Hmm.
Now, with the new line and new system, with one line, we can do close to 22,000 bowls a day.
Hmm.
And we just added a second line um, to our thing. So now we have potential to do close to 50,000 bowls a day. And our employees are on a 3-day work week, which they absolutely love, being on 3 12-hour days and having 4 days off.
Hmm.
Um, and so we can, and with an overtime day, we can do 200,000 bowls a week, and still our employees still have 3 days off. But we have the ability to do 6 days a week, have two crews and coming in and doing, you know, 50,000 bowls a day, 6 days a week. And that's just 12 hours. We could eventually do
Yeah.
overnight too. So we have the production ability now to pretty
Hmm.
much keep up with anything we want by moving warehouses. We're now working with our bowl manufacturer that's for the same price. They're housing our bowls for us and delivering weekly, so we don't have to
Hmm.
use that space. Because we were running when we did this Walmart expansion, we we knew it was coming from the beginning of the year. Of that some expansions were coming with airing on Shark Tank and everything. So we took all of our profit this year every month and just dumped it into ordering inventory. And by the time June, July came around, our warehouse, our 52,000 warehouse was jam packed with paper bowls, our noodle supply, our raw material supply, because we make our own bouillon, we manufacture all that and we put it in. So we were jam packed. And then when Walmart was like, look, we want to expand you, but we don't know when, we don't know how many locations we want to put you in or where we want to do it. So we're just going to do 3,000 stores, half end cap across the country and see which ones that do well. And you have 2 months to do like 600 pallets. And we're like, okay, we have the supplies to do it, but where are we going to house 600 pallets? But we were able to make it work, double stack and everything. And there was literally
Hmm.
zero room to walk in our warehouse by the time we were done. And luckily we had prepped for that, but
Hmm.
just prepping for that and a lot of mistakes along the way, but learning from those mistakes, taking advice from our employees who had worked at other warehouses,
Hmm.
which shows our employees really care. They're like, hey, we saw that they stack pallets like this at Igloo, for example.
Hmm.
I think that would help you here. I'm like, okay. So we tried it. We're like, holy crap, you're right. Thank you. Because we don't have that. We didn't hire some warehouse professional or consultant to come in. And I think our employees saw that they would take their advice. They really liked it, made them feel, because we value
Hmm.
our employees and their input. And then so more employees started to say, hey, I saw this over here. I saw this at this
Yeah.
company. And we're like, that's a great idea, but in practice, it won't work for us. But this idea we're going to put, so
Hmm.
and it
Yeah.
became a conversation. And we've just sort of evolved as an entire team. My wife leads our production team and that whole production side, food safety side,
Hmm.
and what she has done with that whole side of things is just, I'm so proud and like mind boggled by what she's done over there while I'm over here on the back end side getting us more business. We
Hmm.
divide and conquer, which is
Yeah.
great because we couldn't do this without each other, and we both learned stuff along the way.
That's awesome. And uh, you're giving your team ownership over they'll get a sense of ownership because they have input in making it work. So, and that's a great feeling for an employee.
And little prize pack too. We have little goodie bags. Like if they give
Hmm.
it some like advice, and even if we don't use it, we still give it to them.
Hmm.
As like
Yeah,
an
you want to
incentive.
encourage that. Yeah.
And then if we implement the advice, they get another different little prize pack or benefit
Hmm.
type stuff, as well as every month. Every month we do an employee luncheon, and we say,
Hmm.
what do you guys want? You know,
Hmm.
and we don't put limits on it. Like if they want barbecue, we'll go out and spend $800 on barbecue for all
Hmm.
the employees because they work so hard every month, and it builds that, and it's just the environment that my wife has put together for them has been is awesome.
That's cool, and that's that. I think that's a big part of making it all work and the success that you've seen. And I know you have delved into robotics a little bit.
Yeah, so our lid sealing machine is the first sort of semi
Hmm.
robotics that we've got. The bowls automatically come in, it automatically seals them, and automatically brings it out. We are having a whole end of line robotics made right now, which a robot will then take the bowls that come out of this machine, put them in a box, put them in the case, send it through a case sealer, and then another robot will then palletize them
Hmm.
in the exact way that we want them palletized. And then from there, we take it to our pallet wrapping machine manually and wrap it. So and the robotics will be able to feed both lines into
Hmm.
one case packaging machine. So we're super excited about that line being made and taking those. If we have two lines going, it would be 8 employees running it, and
Hmm.
then we're going to utilize those employees as machine operators, which they'll actually get a little bit higher pay. If we pay our machine operators higher than somebody who's on the line because they have more
Hmm.
responsibility, more skills, and and then also into the lines. So we'll be able to utilize those employees and get more efficient, a lot more efficiency out of it. And then those employees are getting a higher paid position because now
Yeah,
they're
there's room
they're
to
running the
grow.
machines. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're running
yeah.
the machines. So
That's great. They have a lot of room to grow within that facility too. So I know you've also delved into some TV advertising. You posted a really interesting case study that was kind of mind blowing on the return that you saw from that. I did not realize it was tied into Mr. Wonderful. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with TV advertising?
yeah, so one of the first things Kevin asked us when he came on board is how much you guys spending on marketing, where are your marketing dollars going? And we're like, we're spending about $2,000 to $3,000 a week on social media ads through Facebook, through TikTok, through Instagram, through all of that. And he's like, with that much money, you really need to look at digital streaming TV to start, and then looking into linear TV, which is like cable TV
Hmm.
advertising. And I was like, Kevin, I was like, that's expensive. He's like, no, it's not. Not what you're thinking. You can start streaming advertising as little as $50 a day.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay. And leading up to our Shark Tank area, we got with Tatari by Wonder Ads.
Hmm.
And they helped us put a pixel on our website to sort of track data. Who is visiting the website, where they're coming from, what are their habits
Hmm.
on our website. And we started off with the $50 a day retargeting ad, which is we create 30-second commercials. They're for streaming like Hulu,
Hmm.
all these you're watching ABC online, the streaming services, and you see
Yeah.
those ads pop up. So that's how we started. But we did strictly retargeting, which is the $50 a day. So it's anybody who's been to our website and never actually purchased an
Hmm.
item would then see our ads. So it's people who already know a little bit about us, but haven't made that jump to actually purchase would see our ads. And with our Walmart push and everything, we had it directed to them going on our where to buy page instead of so they could go to Walmart, they could go to Amazon, they could go to HEB. We didn't really care as much as the direct to consumer sales because we were trying to build our retail.
Hmm.
And so they were also able to put a pixel to track to see, okay, who came from that, and then who clicked where, who went to Walmart, who went to HEB, who went to Amazon. So we had that data too.
Hmm.
And we saw with that first streaming about an 8 to 10x return weekly on our spend
Hmm.
from, and we got that from how many people clicked on Amazon, how many people clicked on Walmart. And then from our data there, we were able to see who bought on walmart.com that clicked from our website and get that kind of data and information. So we were able to put two and two together. And we did that for a couple months, and he's like, okay. He's like, once Walmart said they want to do this 3,000 store nationwide feature, and depending on how that goes, how many locations were going to be an everyday item. And we're like, okay, we need to get a little bit more serious. And so we started talking to Wonder Ads about the linear, which is cable TV advertising, not just retargeting. Because I said we need to bring new people in to Pholicious, new
Mhm.
customers, and send them to Walmart. And so we upped our spend to 5,000 a week for TV ads, and I was just like, "That's $5,000 a week. That's a ton of money for marketing." Um, but let's give it a shot for 2 weeks during this feature and see how it goes because we
Mhm.
really need to direct people in. So we created an ad with AI for Bigfoot. Kevin O'Leary helped us create an ad where he's in there promoting it, and then I created one just regular one. So we had the AI one with Bigfoot, which is a very trending thing right now.
Mhm.
So we use that for more of the channels that got more of the Gen X, millennials, the younger generation, the more techie generation. Then we use the Kevin O'Leary ads for the like Fox News stations and things
Yeah.
like that. And then we used our regular one for everything else. And when that aired the first week of our feature, well, the feature hit the first week without any kind of TV ads, and it did
Mhm.
pretty well. Then the second week of the feature, the TV ads hit, and online from that $5,000, we saw a $25,000 increase in sales online that week, with 150,000 impressions per day more than the
Wow.
prior weeks online. An in-store average rose that about that same 25,000 for
Mhm.
that week. And we're like, okay, because with linear, you can't really get an exact who did what because people are
Mhm.
seeing it on TV and then they're
For
going
the
later.
first time. Yeah.
And we're like, okay, is this TV? Is it not? So let's do it the second week, and we got the same kind of numbers. So we're like, okay, there's something to this here. And it was directly where we wanted it to go because on those commercials, we called out available now on Walmart and Walmart.com. We didn't
Mhm.
say our website, we didn't see anywhere
Yeah.
else. And so we didn't really see any kind of an increase, a slight increase on our website, a slight increase everywhere else because the call to action was,
Mhm.
was for Walmart. That's why we saw that specific. And then when we changed the call to action to our website, we saw our website traffic jump up.
Mm.
So we knew there was something there. So we can put two to two together and see our average sales before, our average sales after, and conservatively, we're getting that 8 to 10x return on investment. And so last week and this week, our first weeks, we doubled it to $10,000 a week spend, which is very, very nervous. But we saw the increase in what it led
Yeah.
to, and so we'll actually by Monday, I'm going to be able to compare the
Mhm.
weeks and see if we still have that. I'm not expecting that same 8 to 10 because once you get to that
Mhm.
point, it goes down a little bit, but I'm still expecting that 6 to 8 X
Mhm.
ROAS on that investment because that's what the preliminary numbers are showing. We can check our numbers a little bit.
Mhm.
It's more of a weak snapshot. We need to see the full picture, but we
Well,
can see the spike.
it's good. Yeah, and it's good that you're testing it out in different ways because then ultimately you'll see where you max out. And it's like, okay, anything more is not gonna, diminishing returns. So you'll hit that sweet spot of where to stay.
Yeah, and we can do the increase in every week. We don't have to do some crazy increase. We can do little by little by little
Hmm.
and keep doing it every week. And if we get an increase, leave it there to make sure that increase stays and then increase it a little bit more. And we're going to find that plateau of, okay, once you spend X amount of dollars, it's not helping anymore. So let's go
Hmm.
back down to where it was most efficient. So that's in the process we are now, which 6 months ago, if you said, hey, are you going to be advertising on TV this year? I would have never said, yeah, and we're going to, because I thought it was completely out of reach for a company
Hmm.
like us.
That's great. That's great. Well, now you're a convert.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I know we're coming close to the end. So just two more questions. One, how have you grown? How do you think you've grown as an entrepreneur over the past couple of years?
Man, that's a great question. One, I'm a lot more humble with my ego. As entrepreneurs, especially startups
Hmm.
who create a product,
Hmm.
Our product's the best ever. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you don't want it in your store, then something's wrong with you. And that has completely evolved because we know,
Hmm.
every retailer is different. You have to evolve
Hmm.
to different things. Our product has evolved of learning how to get more efficient, how to think more ahead.
Hmm.
Now we're thinking 6 months, year and a half, 2 years ahead of planning for that, but
Hmm.
not jumping too much right away. You just have to plan it, but then also have to hold yourself back and can't completely act on things. Um, Being a lot more open too with your communication with your retailers, your merchants, your employees, your partner. It's communication is just huge in this business as entrepreneurs, and learning how to on the fly, make changes, adjustments. Surprises come up all the time. How to just naturally sort of think ahead and work through problems and not get too crazily stressed out. I mean, that's a hard statement to make for entrepreneurs. Don't get stressed out, because that's impossible. We're always going to be stressed. And one of the biggest things I've learned is, I hope this doesn't sound sad, but it's good in its own way. The A successful entrepreneurship life can be a lonely life if you let it, because everybody, all your local close friends support you when you first start, because a lot of them truly don't believe you're going to succeed.
Hmm.
And so they're supporting you because they're like, okay, when he doesn't make it, I want to still have a good friendship with this guy. And the more successful you get, the less a lot of those friendships actually
Hmm.
stay friendships. It
Yeah.
becomes more distant. You can't talk to your friends about your entrepreneurship problems because they don't understand,
Hmm.
or they think you're bragging. And luckily I have a great partner to talk to who's my best friend, but if you don't, then who do you talk to?
Hmm.
So, and then other entrepreneurs you don't meet as much, and sometimes you're on different wavelengths and you
Hmm.
don't want to, same thing. So, but the more you go, the more people you meet who are like you, and you gain completely new friendships and new, you know, relationships. Like Obi, when
Yep.
Obi Foods, I consider him a great friend now,
Hmm.
which, I didn't have that year, and then fire department, Luke from fire department coffee.
Yep.
We talk all the time too. It's all these different connections that you make now
Hmm.
that you didn't think. So it evolves. It becomes a lonely life, but then, then you get great,
You get a
great
new
friendships
family.
afterwards. Yeah. You get a new
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
So there was that phase, as I think all entrepreneurs experience that, and they're like, it catches them off guard. And they're like, what the
Hmm.
heck? But then you sort of start getting that new level of friendships and connections and then it comes back. So, man, there's just been a lot along the way that
That's
we've we've
well,
tried to
true.
grow.
You've truly evolved, and it's been great seeing the evolution take place over the years. Especially you're very active on LinkedIn, so I've been able to see your journey. You're chronicling your journey, which anybody who's not connected to Joseph on LinkedIn, definitely you want to follow him because you'll see. It was so easy for me to research my questions for you because it's all out there. So, um, last question. Your recommendations, I mean, you're a RangeMe power user. So what are your recommendations out there for brands that are just getting onto RangeMe?
That's a great question, because when I first got on RangeMe, I didn't use it correctly at all,
Hmm.
and I'm like, this is not producing anything for me. As soon as I got on there, I went to all the everyday submissions. I submitted to everybody, and then I didn't get anything back, and I'm like, what? And then later I realized, okay, there's product category. What's in category reviews? If you submit a submission outside of a category review, the category manager is probably not going to take too much attention to it because they don't have time. These guys
Hmm.
are crazy busy. So they're not really looking at too much outside the review period unless it's specific. So that's one. Check your category reviews. And then I started utilizing the immediate opportunities, because an immediate opportunity is a company actually looking for something in that category. So it's not just a category review. They want that kind of a product. So you have an even better chance of getting your product in front of them at that time. So weekly, I check what's new coming on the immediate opportunities, what's coming up on the category reviews, add it to my calendar. And and then from there, once you do all that, if you've seen like a company that hasn't put out a category review or an immediate opportunity coming up, then use those for your applications and things like that outside of that to just sort of throw those out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of how we got Kroger's attention. It wasn't a category review, it wasn't anything else, but I was like, man, we're hot on Shark Tank right now. You know, there's a lot of buzz. Let me throw that out there and maybe it will stick this time.
Mm-hmm.
So special events, something happens, you go viral on TikTok, you go viral here and there, and you're out there a little bit more. Maybe that's the time to do sort of that everyday ongoing submission that's outside of a review. But and then following you guys and seeing what's coming up on I follow RangeMe, I follow some of the top people who say stuff about what's coming up on LinkedIn. So I didn't even know that opportunity was out there. Let me go there. Oh, yep, there's 10 days left. Now I can apply because we get busy. So just, you know, and for me, it was definitely worth going the verified route because then companies know, hey, they have insurance, they have everything. This is a company that has their stuff in order. It's not necessarily about this is a company that can afford it to pay. That's not what it's about. It's they have insurance, they're verified, they're a little bit more legitimate company. If we look at this application, it's not going to waste our time, you know, versus somebody who just maybe not be verified and maybe they're still making it in their kitchen, which nothing's wrong with that. We started with that. But at that time, I was not ready for a Walmart. You know, I was not ready for an HEB. So if they had taken the time and doing that and see me, I may burn that bridge in the future. So just go for it and get your information and have your profile. Look, my profile on RangeMe is constantly evolving with our company and our wins and making sure it just looks nice and sleek and it's eye-catching and gets their attention without them having to look too hard.
Awesome. Well, that's great advice. And well, listen, thank you so much for this. It's been great seeing you grow and evolve. I'm hoping I see you guys in December in New York. If you can make that. But listen, thank you so much and congratulations again on all your success.
Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure. We love RangeMe. We love ECRM. It's been awesome. We're going to keep doing it. I can honestly, truly say we would not be where we're at now without the RangeMe and ECRM platform because of all the a good 90% of our success has all come through RangeMe and ECRM. And could we have gotten it outside that? Maybe, who knows? But all I know is what's happened and how we've gotten there with all of our success so far. And you guys have been a huge part of that. So thank you guys so much for bringing this to people and entrepreneurs and bringing all the merchants into one place and just making it easier for us to have a chance to get our product out there.
Hey, well, that's why we're here, and we love having partners like you guys. So that's awesome. Congratulations again.
Thank you.